The world is witnessing a profound tragedy in Gaza, a crisis that has captured global attention and stirred deep concern across continents. In October 2025, a fragile ceasefire was brokered, offering a brief glimmer of hope to millions. But that hope has since collapsed into renewed violence, shattering the lives of countless civilians. Initial hope flickered as hostages were exchanged, and families experienced emotional reunions that seemed to promise a new beginning. Israeli forces partially withdrew, signaling a possible path toward de-escalation and peace. But violations quickly shattered the peace, and the region was plunged back into chaos. Both sides accuse each other of breaking the truce, with Israeli airstrikes targeting Gaza neighborhoods and Hamas militants launching rockets in retaliation, fueling a relentless and devastating cycle of violence. Since the ceasefire began, hundreds of Palestinians have lost their lives, many of them women and children, as the violence intensifies. The violence has now spread to neighborhoods once considered safe havens, forcing families to flee yet again in search of shelter. International law is being tested, as civilian casualties mount, and the destruction of infrastructure leaves communities in ruins. Accusations of war crimes grow louder, with global media and human rights organizations demanding accountability. The humanitarian situation is dire, with hospitals overwhelmed, medical supplies dwindling, and aid workers struggling to reach those in need. Gazans live in constant fear, sheltering in basements and makeshift shelters as the threat of attack looms over every night. Basic necessities like food, water, and electricity are in critically short supply, making daily survival a struggle for thousands. The dream of lasting peace feels more distant than ever, as hope fades with each passing day, and the scars of war deepen. Explosions echo through the streets, lighting up the night sky and leaving devastation in their wake. Families are torn apart, separated by violence and loss. Around the world, outrage is mounting, but meaningful solutions remain elusive. Humanitarian organizations warn of a deepening crisis, calling for urgent international intervention and increased aid. They urge immediate action to protect civilians and prevent further loss of life. The world now faces a stark choice: allow the suffering to continue, or unite in pursuit of a sustainable solution that ends the cycle of violence. Only through determined diplomacy and genuine commitment can the cycle of bloodshed be broken. Gaza's tragedy is a call to conscience for the international community, a reminder that peace, though distant, is a goal worth striving for. Amid the ongoing crisis, the United Kingdom and Pakistan have emerged as some of the most vocal advocates for Palestinian rights on the global stage. Their positions have drawn international attention, as both countries use their diplomatic influence to call for justice and peace in the region. The UK has publicly condemned Israeli military actions in Gaza and has called for strict adherence to international law, including the protection of civilians. This marks a significant shift for a major Western power, as the UK has traditionally maintained close ties with Israel, but is now emphasizing the need for accountability and restraint. Pakistan, with its long-standing and unwavering support for the Palestinian cause, is pushing for urgent international intervention. Pakistani leaders are demanding accountability for violations of human rights and are calling on the global community to take concrete action to protect Palestinian civilians. Both nations have become strong champions of a two-state solution, insisting that it remains the only viable path to achieving lasting peace and security for both Israelis and Palestinians. They argue that only through mutual recognition and coexistence can the cycle of violence be broken. Their unified stance highlights the urgent need for a credible political process, one that addresses not just the symptoms, but the root causes of the conflict. Both countries are urging the international community to prioritize dialogue and negotiation over further escalation. Beyond politics and diplomacy, the UK and Pakistan are demanding immediate humanitarian aid for Gaza's besieged population. They are calling for the swift delivery of food, clean water, and life-saving medicine to those suffering under blockade and bombardment. Both countries are working tirelessly through diplomatic channels to keep aid corridors open and ensure that assistance reaches those most in need. Their efforts at the United Nations and with regional partners are crucial in maintaining the flow of humanitarian relief. Their approach combines urgent relief for immediate needs with a long-term vision for a just, sustainable future in the region. they are also supporting efforts to rebuild shattered communities and restore hope for those affected by the conflict. In a divided world, the partnership between the UK and Pakistan stands out, offering a rare sense of hope for meaningful change and a renewed commitment to peace and justice in the Middle East. Gaza's humanitarian crisis has reached catastrophic levels, with the situation worsening by the day and no end in sight. Nearly 90% of the population, almost 2 million people, are displaced, forced from their homes and now living in overcrowded camps or exposed to the harsh elements. Many have lost everything, carrying only what they could salvage, and are struggling to find even the most basic necessities. The death toll has soared past 67,000, devastating families and entire communities. Every day brings new losses, with countless lives shattered and futures stolen. Even Israeli sources confirm the staggering casualty figures, underscoring the scale of the tragedy and the immense human cost of this conflict. Gaza's healthcare system is in ruins, with most hospitals destroyed and only a fraction of beds available for millions in desperate need of care. Medical facilities that once served as lifelines are now barely functional, overwhelmed by the sheer number of wounded and sick. Medical staff work in impossible conditions, lacking supplies, electricity, and clean water. Doctors and nurses are forced to make heartbreaking choices about who to treat first, as resources dwindle and hope fades. Starvation looms as food shortages worsen, despite a surge in aid after a key international court ruling. Markets are empty, and families wait in long lines for hours, hoping for a small ration to feed their children. The aid reaching Gaza is still far from enough. Many families survive on a single meal a day, often sharing what little they have among many. Malnutrition is becoming widespread, especially among children. Malnutrition and disease are spreading rapidly, compounding the suffering and putting the most vulnerable at even greater risk. The world is witnessing a humanitarian disaster that demands urgent coordinated action from the international community. Without a massive and immediate response, the consequences will be even more dire. Without immediate relief, the crisis will only deepen, leaving millions at risk and the future of Gaza hanging in the balance. The Gaza crisis has galvanized a global response. The UN Security Council approved a US-backed plan for Gaza's future, including an international stabilization force and a transitional government. The EU is leveraging economic pressure, threatening to suspend trade agreements and sanctioning hardline Israeli settlers. Massive pro-Palestine protests have erupted worldwide, demanding a ceasefire and an end to occupation. Legal challenges in the UK and diplomatic efforts by Muslim-majority nations underscore the intensity of the debate. Foreign ministers from key countries have endorsed the US-backed plan and a two-state solution, seeking a new framework for Gaza's governance. These coordinated actions reflect a growing determination to resolve the conflict through law and diplomacy. The world is uniting to demand accountability, humanitarian access, and a path to Palestinian self-determination. The stakes have never been higher. In September 2025, the UK made history by officially recognizing the state of Palestine, alongside allies like Australia and Canada. This bold move signals a shift in Western policy and injects new momentum into the peace process. Recognition affirms the urgent need for a two-state solution and challenges the status quo of occupation. For Palestinians, it's a moment of validation and hope, strengthening their position in international forums. Israel's government has strongly opposed the move, highlighting deep divisions. The UK's decision pressures other nations to reconsider their stance and could reshape future negotiations. While recognition alone won't end the conflict, it's a crucial step toward justice and equality. The world is watching to see who will follow. Pakistan remains a steadfast champion of the Palestinian cause, intensifying its diplomatic efforts amid the crisis. At the UN and in multilateral forums, Pakistan has pushed for ceasefires, humanitarian access, and accountability for violations. In September 2025, Pakistan helped unite Muslim-majority nations behind the US-backed plan and the two-state solution. The country calls for secure aid corridors and robust international intervention to protect civilians. Even as it pursues other global interests, Pakistan's advocacy for Palestine is unwavering. Its multi-pronged diplomacy reinforces its role as a key voice for justice on the world stage. The UK and Pakistan's united advocacy is shaping the global response to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The UK's recognition of Palestine and Pakistan's leadership in the global south are shifting diplomatic dynamics. Together, they demand a sustained ceasefire, open aid corridors, and massive support for Gaza's reconstruction. Their efforts keep the focus on civilian protection and the urgent need for a just, lasting peace. By addressing both immediate suffering and the root causes of conflict, they offer a path forward. Their principled voices challenge the world to act. In the face of despair, they stand for hope, justice, and human rights.